So we are recording.
We're recording? Okay. Thunderbirds are a go.
Oh yeah. How we can share things in like library or other resources which are just available there.
Sure.
And we didn't continue that. I actually want to know more what you were thinking, because we have all these resources like library, but but still there's an urge that, I want to have my library, because of course it's somewhat convenient to have your own, but also the other aspect of it is a bit of more possession and control.
Yeah.
But I think it would be so much more sustainable, but you have to be a different type of a person to really...
Of course. I mean, even though like we were talking about it and we were saying, wouldn't it be nice if it was like this? Like I still have the problem with my little brother where I don't want to share my things with him. It's because he mistreats it, and we think other people will mistreat, you have your own library and you don't want other people to come to it because you don't want your books to go old and you don't want them to rip. Me, I hate giving books out to people because they fold the pages, and I hate that. Like I'm one of those readers where I like barely open the book just so that there's no creases in my book.
But it would be a good, somehow, it would be a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a
society where we will share all of our like belongings and possessions just because they last longer. Like imagine I live in a flat, there's 8 buildings in that flat, 8 homes within that flat, and 3-4 people living in each one. Imagine like 20 people there. Like imagine if we shared all of our resources, like instead of all of us having a power tool, a drill, imagine if there was like one drill in which we all shared that drill and we all used it when we needed it. Imagine like you say, the resources we would save. And that's just an example of that library idea.
Yeah, I think this is pushing hard. It's very hard.
Of course.
We are not that type of civilization yet.
No.
Level 1 or 2.
You know what? I don't know if we will ever get there because of the way things are.
Well, I mean, yeah, we would never know where we would be in future, how the things are now, because it's like a kind of like a part of an equation, because we have incomplete information at this point. That's why it's future, and it's really hard to predict. Like one small change slowly could steer the boat in one direction, and then slowly some other people would see it. It's really hard to actually imagine. And that's why some people, I hear them, they say that, I don't think like racism will ever go away from humans. And
it's because there's physical differences. Like you can see a person is a different color to you. Like it's apparent, like you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to be judgmental about it. But because it's apparent, like it will always be like something to comment on.
Yeah, but that's not racism.
That isn't racism, but that's how it starts. And then, next thing you know, it's like you separate yourselves from those.
Well, yeah, okay, so this is it. This is the thing. When someone says that, I think that, like, I hope it's not true, but I really think that this is not going to happen. It's already claiming through this sentence that I actually somehow know it in some way or form, this thing. It is so much, I think it's like maybe the society you are imagining, the probabilities and the variables which you have seen, maybe that could be true in some way. But to say that as humans, like as a human Earth, like maybe you haven't met with Polynesian islands yet. Maybe you haven't.
I haven't, no.
Exactly, not you. I mean, that person who's saying it, yeah. Sure. Or maybe the person has not been to Penang people, who I just saw, somewhere in Indonesia. Indonesia, if I'm correct. Anyway,
My geography's terrible.
Yeah, I think it's Indonesia. Or you haven't seen the Amazon tribes right now, or maybe you have not met with some people who are living in Sri Lanka. So that's the thing. I mean, how would you how could you really know that for like forever? You mean like for 100 years, or you mean 500? Like what are we talking about?
I mean never is what I mean.
Well, that's the thing.
But you're right. I can never know
But
I have an idea, man.
well, that's the thing. You see, like this is exactly. I know that
Yeah.
So and then on the top of it, you have to understand. Okay, so do you mean that racism in a way, which is how it is now, wouldn't go away? And then you have to define somehow what are you saying, in what differences. I actually, another thing I found out was that, well, there's different types. There's individual racism, you can say, but then on the top of it, there are certain categories where it's not about physical differences, it's about categorization, which is the bigger problems, which many of the, you can call it researchers who are working in this area faces, which means that being Irish and Italian is a different category of race. They look, so many of them look so similar, but it's actually a different category of race according to how after when after the Dark Ages in 16th century, you know how people were categorized. I mean, they were talking about Jews like that. They were talking about people from Israel like this, that okay, so this is the category which is working class. Okay, Irish people were categorized really low, so lower class people. Now they look very similar. They all have blue eyes, most of them, pretty light color. And that's, so now we have to talk about like what racism are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I guess racism, it looks like it'll never be like it used to be, up to 100 years ago, 50 years ago, a couple of 100 years ago. It doesn't look like it'll ever be like that ever again because of the way we're moving as a civilization. But I think people, knowing humans, I feel like they will always be judgmental. And like I was saying before, because color is one of those visible things, like our eyesight is like our main sense, if you know what I mean, for those who can see. And I think people use that visible difference, like I say, not necessarily to be violent, but just once you point out a difference, then you form categories, and then once you put people into categories, you include them or you exclude them, and then that becomes racism.
Yeah, but the key word is maybe.
I guess, yeah.
Well, that's the whole. So it changes the statement if we say that I think that never this thing would go away.
Yeah.
Which implies underlying statement.
I like what you're saying because I do believe that we can change or shape our reality based on our thoughts. So I do like what you're saying. So I guess maybe I need to be more open to the possibility that this could actually happen, maybe.
But another thing is that when someone says that I think knowing humans,
it's like, how much do I possibly know?
Well,
it's
knowing
like I'm
humans,
just 30 years old. It's not like I've studied these things for hundreds of years. And I get you, yeah.
Well, maybe let's say someone has traveled a lot, which means you have really experienced reality to your subjective filter. Okay, brilliant. Now, if you say that according to what I think humans are is actually more of a reflection of how much of a depth your human identity has yet explored, and how much you have realized that what you or other people you have interacted could actually be. Knowing human is a big statement because humans.
How much do I really know about humans? You're right. I agree.
Or you.
Yeah,
that's
myself.
The thing. I mean, the potential is insane. You know, that that rawness of humanity. When I say humanity, I don't mean Homo sapiens.
Sure.
I mean life itself, which is experiencing the Mother Earth. When I say mother, because that's where we come from. And I mean, how much further could you explore who humans are? Yeah, maybe.
I like what you're saying. Explore the potential rather than, oh, this is what it's like and this is how it is. I'm putting myself in a box instead of exploring the potential. Because you're right, as humans, look at what we have accomplished. And, we're walking around with these telephones. And if we can do all of that in the space of, 100 years or so, imagine what we can do.
Yeah, I mean,
Imagine a world with no racism.
I consider, and you're right, I consider not this to be big achievements of humans, what we have done in last 500 years, what we have done in last 5,000 years. I consider the great achievement of life, what the life itself has done in few billion years, which is a blink when it comes to an overall age of universe. The life itself has explored how many expressions could it really evolve into, connected to each other genetically, like really genetically. How much we share DNA with everything,
Yeah.
is crazy.
Even a stone, right?
With a fucking stone. You're right. Yeah. With a banana. When I say someone like how much of DNA we share with a banana, everyone's like, what?
How much is it?
Like 6. Again, I think
I think you've told me, but I forget.
Yeah, I think it was. I thought it was 16%, but then this person who is a geneticist, or some person who studied genetics, was like, oh no, it's not like that. It's about that how much, like, it's a bit more. It's about also the relatability and variability. It's a bit more nuanced, like any other thing else. So it was a bit more. Anyway, what I'm saying is that's the potential. Insane potential is not measured in few thousands years, which is a blink in a real time scale. What change has happened, and how much potential you mean from a shrew and a cricket, like we have become insanely different. This form, which we call human form, I think you are right when you say
it's just a form.
It's when you say human, you mean like this temporary form,
this passing thing that we're doing. Crazy, man. You're blowing my mind with every sentence.
I mean, of course, you're right. This form, for sure, you're right. It might have a capacity to do just this, but that's what we are doing. But that's what life has done. It has let go of the cocoon it was in, and it has let go of the dead skin and become completely something else. Develop new biological parts, and evolve into different shapes, different limbs, and created different languages. And this is what life is. Homo sapien is just one expression of it, for sure. When you say human, let's say again, you haven't even explored the potential of one species, which is Homo sapien. How could you say
make any generalization at all?
Yeah, that when this life form in a Homo sapien would move forward, would actually be just like that. Because we are talking about as if Homo sapiens is somehow will be disconnected completely. I mean, we can try. We are trying right now, but you see how ayahuasca is coming in, and how plants are coming in, how the understanding of our own biology is so much dependent. Like, there is no Raza or Kemal without 14 point some billions of evolution.
Yeah.
There is no...
It's all led to this moment.
That's it. So yeah, I rest my case.
Yeah. No, dude, interesting. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. I never thought about exploring the possibility, because, like you're saying, coming from a shrew or a cricket, look where we are. We're humans. Imagine the next 14, 15 billion years where we could be.
That's it. That's the time frame. The form itself, like 100 years, 90 years.
It's nothing.
It's a very small thing.
Snap of the finger.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
A drop in the ocean.
True. Well, anyway, you doing, what do you want to talk about? You were talking about some experiment, like, which is about evolving, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what it is? I never thought about it like that, but that is. So I'm doing an experiment. The idea is there's this ability phenomena known as absolute or perfect pitch. Apparently 1 in 10,000 people have it, and apparently it's only something you can learn as a child. And it's like a musical ability in which a person can hear a note and tell you what note that is, or you'll tell them a note and they'll just be able to sing it to you, hum it to you. So yeah, apparently not everybody can do this. And I play the guitar, and I thought it'd be nice to be able to tune my guitar myself with no tuner. I didn't know one couldn't learn this technique, perfect pitch, absolute pitch. I looked into it a little bit, and there's a guy called Paul Stamets. He's a mycologist, which means he's a mushroom scientist kind of guy. And he says how if you stack psilocybin with lion's mane and vitamin B3 niacin, you can induce epigenetic neurogenesis, basically just form new connections in the brain, basically learn things better. And so I thought that it might be possible to take this this vitamin stack and maybe learn the ability perfect pitch. So apparently adults can't learn it, and my experiment is to see if an adult can learn perfect pitch using psilocybin, lion's mane, and vitamin B3. So I've conducted my experiment. It's almost over. Due to, I don't want to say time and money, but resources still, I was only able to do it for 28 days. I haven't quite finished it. Like I said, there's a few days left. Short answer is no.
Well, I mean, okay, so let me I'm curious about that, so I want to know more. So this is when Paul Stamets shared on Joe Rogan's podcast that I had a mushroom trip, and then and then one day there was this person. He's talked about a lot.
Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, please.
So Paul Stamets, he talks about his first mushroom experience in which he had like a high dose, and he used to suffer from a severe stutter. And having this one high dose, the single high dose experience of magic mushrooms, he was able to stop stuttering. And so it is believed that maybe, he rewired his brain. And he also speaks of a friend who was able to hear the footsteps of ants while he was on mushrooms. And this guy is like otherwise deaf. He can't usually hear. And so, of course,
I think it was deaf or
deaf.
Was
no, he's
it,
deaf.
Was it the vision?
No, he's deaf.
Yeah. Okay. So
But while he was on the mushrooms, he could hear the footsteps of the ants.
I can confirm that definitely you can change the neural pathways. There is no doubt about it. It actually increases your brain plasticity. That is why every single tech person is doing microdosing, because they want more creativity. And so there are some there are some fields which require chaos for it to be more productive. And then there are some disciplines or some professions which require order. So it depends what kind of a person you are. And that's exactly where you see some artists who love postmodern art and abstractions. And that's what they want to do. They love more chaos, less order. And that's why they think that's more of a virtuous thing to do and move forward. So that's a different debate, but conversation, not a debate. It's actually part of two pieces. And that's where you find these two people, trying different things and, trying to do their work. Now, there's been a lot of papers written now is that no matter what and that's the connection. Okay, maybe I should tie it up a little bit more. That's why you would see a lot of people saying that, oh no, we need to be more chaotic so that we can leave old traditional values. And then you'll hear people who are like, no, we need more structure and and we need more order. And it's just their service, what they are doing in a society. What psychedelics do is that it doesn't matter. Either you are in service to the life and the world through the point of view of order or through the point of view of chaos. What happens is that people get trapped in their worldview, truly who they are in their mind, how their neurons are. And they can actually feel like the order part of it is somehow incorrect. And that's why you find this huge problem between left and right these days. You find huge problem with explorer artists, with people who hold religious traditions, state traditions, maybe engineering traditions. Okay, so if you do psychedelics, no matter how your neurons are, so I've taken it to the most extreme. It's been described by one of the most well-known scientists, is that you know how a mountain is covered with snow, and if you do a lot of skateboarding from top to the bottom, it actually forms these paths and it deepens down further and further and further. Now if you want to do a skateboarding from the top to the bottom, it's so hard to make new pathways because the snow is fucking high. You can't just like make new ways. What psychedelic does is no matter what kind of a mountain you are, it actually puts a lot of snow and just level all the things up. So now when you skateboard from the top to the bottom, or snowboard, sorry, you can just choose path, whatever you like. And that's why integration is really important after psychedelics, because it's very possible, like it's possible that you might either fall into the old ways, but also you might feel even more lost because now you don't even have old ways where you used to go to the bottom. So that's why integration is really important, because it allows you to actually make the most out of that kind of experience what you had. So to actually have, not only to have just more plasticity, you actually would form completely new schemas of neurons, which schemas then can talk to other ones and can actually change who you really are, because whatever your persona was, and that's why people are terrified of it. Now, neurons actually inform your genes. A lot of your body, how they like your body is regenerating in a year. So in a year times, your body just regenerate. Cells regenerate. So if you can rearrange your neurons, not only in your brain, so brain, this is what we thought. So brain doesn't only have, now we know heart have it, we know stomach has it.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, exactly. So you know how people used to say, oh, listen to your gut.
Literally, that's
that
what
was
it
actually
means now.
literally,
Okay.
yeah. So
Wow.
this thing, brain, is like a control center, let's say. It's not something where everything originates. It actually talks to the heart and the stomach. So this is where, so when you are saying, you know, possibly neurogenesis and all of that, if someone have said that 7-10 years ago, it would have been like maybe. But now there's been so much research done on it that there is no doubt that possibly humans developed their language. I'm not saying, we don't know if they actually came up with the synesthesia, but it probably is. You know, synesthesia is a mixture of two different senses, and that's what language is. I'm making noise, and anyone who's listening, is just listening, bubbling of words.
I have my own ideas and theories about synesthesia. I believe if somebody could learn to become synesthetic, I wouldn't even know how to say that, but if you can learn this ability, synesthesia, in which you can compartmentalize different things into different feelings, tastes, colors, I believe it might help with learning an ability.
Well, that's it. So I think it's very legitimate what you're trying to do. I think people do get more hearing, more vision, and people report this experience all the time. So why not singing? I mean, why
totally.
not? I mean, the thing is,
I think it's an area that needs to be studied further.
But you got to practice your biological arrangement of your throat. What is it called? Where the sound, vocal cords. Yeah. So you gotta practice that, and once you have practiced it, to actually hold the weight, like you gotta, when you're doing yoga. You can't have a DMT, Kundalini, or present state experience if your actual hand is weak to not hold your own body.
Totally.
So you gotta first actually train it, and you could do it in whatever way possible. And as in, like, you don't have to hit the notes.
Start small.
Yeah, you just practice it. And then once you have practiced it, and that's what they say, okay, now you have this breath, you know, the one you take, Wim Hof type of breath, or whatever breath you want to take in. and then you hold the position, and then you are suddenly, you know, in a very odd kind of place, and you can see your issues, and you can see how you might how you might behave. And that's one of the things which yoga can do for you. When something that difficult, which you are experiencing right now, would come in your real life, and how you can keep the presence. The moment you keep the presence and not get washed away, you know. So this is, let's imagine if you are this thing who are at the tip of your forehead, and you are, you know, how somehow driving into these clouds, and you're this ball, and then suddenly electricity hits you, and you are lost in clouds on earth, top of it. Man, find yourself back. I don't know how. It is hard. You just don't. All you see is just clouds, nothing else, and
you have to embrace it.
Well, that's it. I mean, once you are there, then then that abstract thing, which was not a ball, you know, it's a thing which was as a thing which was just experiencing all of these clouds. It doesn't have a placeholder. Where would that be? What would that be? And that's generally when you feel your best, you know, flow state. You can call it in some way, present state, or you can call it something which listens, or something which experience. So this is it. This is exactly, you can achieve that in yoga, and through yoga, you know, you can hold your pose, and once you are faced with this small thing, you know, something, let's say a fear comes up, and this fear is very specific. It's a self-judgment of you from old time, and now what are you gonna do? Well, the best thing which could happen at that time is that you still connect it to your body, and you don't run away, you know, and you still feel the pain, and then you are in this present state where you embrace it. There's no glory in it. It's fucking painful. There's no escape in it. The pain wouldn't reduce.
No.
It would just
have to appreciate it as pain.
And that's where the healing comes from. And that's where the updates come from. Well, updates doesn't come without pain. The pain is one of the most necessary things, because that's what connects you
to
your
out of chaos.
Here we go. That's what connects you to your body, and the body, which is the earth itself. And there's no easy way into it. So how did we get to this point? We trained our mortal bodies. So I think if you do train a little bit of your vocal cords in any way possible, you can do those 6-7 notes, like basic ones. And then you do the experiment, if I'm correct.
So my experimentation was like very crude, very, very crude. I just had some psilocybin truffles, magic truffles. I had my guitar, a guitar tuner, and dude, I barely had decent scales to even weigh this stuff with. I soon found that the vitamin B6 like causes you to get really hot and really itchy. So I did that like twice, maybe 3 times out of the whole time, and then I stopped taking the vitamin B3. When I started taking the psilocybin mushrooms, I weighed it at 1 gram. Turns out that was a little bit too much. I was getting a little bit trippy. But you know what? So I was practicing humming and singing these notes while on this vitamin stack, and I was playing the notes on the guitar. And the first time I did it, it was like really trippy, and like I really felt like I was like these notes were resonating in my head. Yeah, I could clearly hear the differences. After a few days, that kind of disappeared because you build up a tolerance to the psilocybin. I feel like if I test myself, I feel like I'm a whole tone off. Like I can recall a note and try to sing it, and I'd be like off by a tone. I think that's kind of significant. I don't know if that's anything to do with the actual truffles or just repetition. But like you're saying, I consider what I've done a crude experiment. I've learned so much from it on how to do it better next time. And I do think, like you're saying about training the vocal cords, this could be considered maybe training of those vocal cords, and then, like I say, repeat the experiment, do it a little bit better, because it's complete shambles, man. Like I say, very crude experiment done in my own house, like no control group, no control measure. Yeah. So, but I've learned a lot from it, and I do think from, like I say, because I believe I can recall a note within a whole tone or a semitone, sometimes get it on point. I feel like I'm learning. I feel like I'm pinpointing the sound. I do think it's possible. Like I say, does it have anything to do with the mushrooms? I say mushrooms, truffles. I cannot say, but there's evidence there. And this is in less than 28 days, because the experiment I had only had enough truffles to do it for 28 days, doing it for 4 days on, 2 days off. Lion's mane, not so much the B3. Did I say B6 earlier? B3 niacin is the one. And yeah, so I think there's evidence. It needs to be explored.
I think there is two things. So with the potential of psychedelics actually just really going in your biology and tinkering with your different kind of the correct word would be that somehow recalibrating some sort of a homostasis, whatever the word is, you know what I'm talking about, just to make you more in balance with your own organs all around. So this is what's used more medicinally in different places, but also to increase certain abilities of your senses, and also whatever issues, let's say, were just in your body organically doing it. And the other part is that it also, on the top of it, has this psychological aspect, which is what flow states are. Psychedelics is one of the biggest thing which puts you into the flow states. There are 4 things: timelessness, effortlessness, it feels like that. It feels like timeless. It feels like effortless. It feels when you are in the flow state. I'm sorry, there are 4 main factors. Stealing Fire, Stephen Kotler. I forgot the other.
I'll read it. I still haven't read it.
Other two ones, and something around that, as you can imagine. And also there are 4 different neurochemicals which are involved in it, and psychedelics are very potent in those 4. So when you're in a flow state, you don't have to take psychedelics. You can actually be in a flow state through different play, like surfing, skating, or you can drawing, and sometimes you can even be in a flow state when watching a very brilliant
I think
film.
I have an idea of what the flow state is, and I do believe one can do a lot more once you're in that flow state. Like try surfing without being in the zone, you know. Not that I've ever surfed, but I skateboard, so I know how that goes. I find music puts me into that flow state, and I learned this while playing pool. I noticed I play pool a lot better when there's music playing in the background. I found this out because we used to play snooker pool in this pool house, and there was always music playing. And if it was a song that I really liked and I really resonated with it, like one that I'm, if not singing out loud, I'm at least singing it in my head, I found that I'm playing a lot better. Like I'm always winning when I'm really enjoying this music, you know, I'm really in the zone. And when I'm not, I'm terribly losing. And I noticed this was an ability. Like, and then I soon started playing music, you know, because there's like a jukebox and you can choose what music. And I started playing music that I know that I really resonate with, you know, and I found myself winning a lot more. So I do believe in this flow state, and I do agree with it. And I do think music induces it.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, there's so many things. There's a level of flow you can get into, but that's what I'm saying. It is possible to actually learn better music when you are in a flow state. And then the other aspect of it is actually enhancing your senses. Hearing, the 5 senses we have are to definitely get completely impacted when you take any kind of conscious altering drugs. Now, that's the part which we need to experiment, because with flow state, I mean, Chick Send Me High, Jamie Veal, Stephen Kotler's book, and their other courses, it is unbelievable the amount of research they have. I mean, they are the most strict researchers you can find. So there's no doubt about that. So the other part, yeah, we need to, I mean, there's been a lot of research going on in psychedelics, and I mean, no one doubts that you can actually change certain aspects, but this is a very narrow, more focused. You've chosen a task. And so I think, yeah, this would be really good from that point of view. If you like leave practice, I mean, leave the flow state part of it, but you take it and you slowly feel at some point in tune. That would be the cool. Well, that's what happened. You go to, wherever you go to shaman, and you have these issues, whatever these issues are, and you suddenly find yourself after 6 hours that they are gone. You don't practice anything. I mean, of course, I'm talking about some cases. I mean, this is so complicated what I'm just saying. You gotta be ready. You are already the journey start the moment you say, I want to do it. You choose the people, you research, all of that is part of it. But still, there is some biological medicinal properties of the plant itself, which is where so much of our medicines are based on. So I mean, like, that aspect of it, the magic, which is like neurons of a plant go in and talk to your brain without you even knowing. Like, it's all happening in the semi-conscious realm, and then they just talk and they just made a deal, and then they fix, and that's how you intercommunicate with different species. I really believe that we literally communicate with the plants. I mean, what is communication in the most literal sense? Communication is when I talk or when I make gestures and it makes changes in your neurons.
My understandings.
That is exactly.
So basically it's just communication is you trying to give off an understanding and me receiving that understanding. And do I think that everything is conscious and will communicate with it? Yeah, I believe that. Definitely. Plants, stone, rock, everything.
Yeah.
There's research that suggests water is alive. Like, you ever seen those experiments? I don't know how true it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's believable. You like sing to water, or you tell it good things, and then the water like becomes nicer, but like you freeze it and then you get all these like cool snowflakes. But then if you like scream at the water or shout at it and say bad words to it, like, and it just like freezes in like ugly shapes or something,
Whoa.
And there was like a rice experiment where they cook rice and they do the same thing, and then a month later the ones you said good things to is like still like white and there's nothing bad on it, and the ones that you've been like swearing at or screaming at, telling bad things to, they're all gone all moldy and things.
I've heard that. I'm not sure. Maybe I've heard it from you. But yeah, this looks like this is very curious.
Yeah, very
experiment.
curious.
We need to
we need to find out what's going on there, don't
exactly. But there's this guy, Wallace J. Nichols. I think Wallace J. Nichols, his book is called The Blue Mind. I think so. And he has done a lot of research on water. My goodness. If someone, and he's been on a podcast on Chris Ryan's podcast called Tangentially Speaking. I think it's Wallace J. Yeah, Nichols. His book is called The Blue Mind, Blue Water. Yeah, I think I am sure. Anyway, if not, I'll put a link. But my goodness, the amount of okay, you know how music interacts with human consciousness?
Sure. Remind me, I'm going to tell you something about that later.
It is exactly what the water is. That's how prevalent the water is. Anyway, that's all what I wanted to say.
When I see people wearing crystals, like, you see a lot of people wear crystals around their neck. There's this like whole new age belief about frequency and spirituality and good vibes. Whenever I see person wearing crystal around their neck, obviously they've done it with intention. Very few people wear like massive, like, fist-sized crystals around their neck unless they're like spiritual. Whenever I see people wearing one of those, I always start a conversation about the whole spirituality, and I tell them, have you tried singing and dancing rather than wearing a crystal around your neck? Because I totally believe singing and dancing will amplify your frequency or whatever, however you want to put you into this flow state in which, like we mentioned earlier, I believe you can change your whole reality. I don't want to get into it because that's just deep and we'll never be able to prove it. But I do believe one can kind of change their reality through thought. And obviously there's a way to do it,
Well,
get into the flow state for one.
I don't. I mean, oh my god! If we are having a debate, like a conversation, let's say, or like on that still, like as in we,
Yeah.
we need to.
I wouldn't be able to explain it.
No,
That's
no.
why. That's the only reason I'm saying let's not go down that rabbit hole.
No,
Yeah.
not you. I
Sure.
mean, of course. I
Like
mean,
I just believe it because of human. I know we spoke about the human experience before, but throughout, I'm only 30 years old, 33. But you know, the things I've experienced, like I believe, because I'm not saying I test everything, but there are certain beliefs that I hold, and you know, because of the experiences I've had. So I do believe to some extent we are able to shape our reality.
I think that enough observation from different part of subjects, different cultures have been made about thoughts and the reality, and especially music, that I think that this again, like we don't have to believe only just as a thing that we alone experience. I think this is a very common phenomena in some way happening in this kind of existence where we are, that thoughts shape your reality. Novelists would tell you that, who write a lot of things and go into the deep end of thoughts, and that's what they do. Novelists are reality creators, storytellers who explore words to create a new reality. So the difference between Eric Davis talks it brilliantly, this writer, about
What's his name, sorry?
Eric Davis.
Okay.
He talks about, and this is the guy who I was saying that I'm just I wanted to start reading his book called High Weirdness. But,
Oh yeah.
So he talks about real and reality. So real is generally really far away from, I mean, I don't know how we'll ever get to real. The real is the bedrock of reality. Bedrock of
what is real. Yeah.
what there is. And the words is confusing. That's the thing. Reality is what is accessible to us
Through your perceptions.
from real.
Yeah.
From our
From real,
perceptions. Yeah. So how do we see?
Like this is wood, but you might see it as differently to what I'm seeing it. So it exists as what it is, but then there's our perception of it, which is the reality.
Yeah, I mean, so of course, like your thoughts. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can change how you are feeling by dancing. Static dancing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, play a music. Let's say if you're down, don't wait for it to change. Like you can actually switch the channel, and this is one of the things where you can actually get into
frequency hopping.
Well, yeah, you can get into the negative circle, and you know,
sounds like a crazy concept, because like imagine like if it does work like that. If just, I mean, I guess I believe it, but like imagine changing your frequency, so not just singing and dancing, but you could get to like, you can get to darker places as well, you know? Like we're talking about positivity and singing and dancing, but like...
Well, how do you think people do suicide?
Well, yeah, why do people become rapists, murderers, suicide?
Well, maybe rapists and murderers is more impulsive, impulse control. If we are purely
sure, but I still think it's like to do with the mind, you know. It's like where your mind goes. Like you'd have to be at, you know, in a certain place to be able to commit murder or rape, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you're right. But I mean, let's say we this is extreme cases, of course. You're right. I mean, yeah, this is open.
I didn't mean to go dark, man. I just thought, oh my god, you know, like if you can go up, you can go down.
You're right, you know, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, depression.
Gotta stay up.
Depression, anxiety, fear are all of these things which can lead you slowly, you know, to these circle of hell where you can actually start to think self-sabotagely, start to think, when I say negatively, like more self-destructive. And what you're talking about is more like actionable violence to the other people. So there's a little distinction, you know. But I mean, the worst from a perspective, you know, to actually be able to, you know, what you can do as a single person. Let's leave any other party involved, let's say. Yes, psychopaths and mass murderers, let's say, it's too much of a crazy debate. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, as someone who can change channels, I mean, my God, I mean, this is how, but it's a hard one.
It is difficult, of
It's a
course.
hard one because you gotta let go of the persona. And when I say persona, I mean the thing which is
The character
doing
that
the
you've built
thinking.
up until now,
exactly. The thing which you think you are at this point, truly wholly, which you were not 10 years ago, and now, well, where'd that go? Of course that went away as your skin went away. But it is hard in real life to really believe on something which you haven't seen, and the thing which you don't know you would be, and how would you translate and relate to the world, because you do need that. And we feel that the tools right now is with this persona. Now this persona is entrenched, let's say, as you have said, with darkness and depth of negative thinking. Now that's it, that's your reality. Well, there is no other way for you
difficult to get out
at
of
this
that.
point. Yeah, conscious altering experiences, that's why they're useful, because they take you out of your persona and put you into your body. The body, which we just talked about in the start of this podcast, is all of life. You become all of life. And that's when I was talking to Raza, and we realized pretty much that if you want to categorize the word God, that's what God is. And most initial term, or the thing which exists in all of us, is this all of life, the earth and the all of life. You can imagine like a whole globe.
Oh yeah, dude, it's crazy.
You know, like a whole globe, and it just evolves like this. There's just millions of different shapes and form, and all of it is one. Literally one. Came from one bloody thing. And if you want to know that thing, when you go to that thing, I think that is what you can call a God. And that's what happened when the form go back into its source, and you suddenly feel like, oh, I am not what I was, neither I am any kind of a very specific form that I can interact with, but I am still this,
formless, shapeless.
Yeah, I'm this thing. I am like, you really feel you're alive, you're fine, and the death is just another thing, which is a stage to finally traverse into something else. And that's where you see how easy, once you come back, it would be.
I stopped trying to think about, like, I totally believe, I don't want to say I believe there's a God and an afterlife, right? I don't want to say that because that's not how I believe it. But I've stopped thinking about what, like, I totally think that when I say afterlife, I totally believe there's something after death. I don't think death is the end. You talking about going back to the source. See, I don't know how it works. I don't know if there's a heaven. I to an extent believe in reincarnation. I don't want to explain that because I can't. But I stopped thinking about it, man. Like, now I've given up on trying to think about what it might be like, and I'm just like, you know what? I believe it. That's enough for me. I'm looking forward to it. You know, like, imagine, man. Imagine what it is. It's fucking.
When I say
anything, man.
Fuck yeah. When I say going back, I meant not like dying. I meant when you are doing a
So I thought you were
conscious altering experience.
Okay.
You sometimes,
because you're talking about going back to the source, right? And I thought, just like blew my mind. Like, imagine what that must be like. You know?
Yeah. Well, that is
eternal universal consciousness. They call it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, but for sure, it could be. If you've done a lot of, conscious altering experience, if you climb mountain,
you have an inkling of what it might be like.
Yeah, that's it. If you've been an astronaut, I'm sure people talk about this experience. Sure, they're not lying about it. All of them, every part of it, since the history has been recorded, how people are talking about these kind of experiences. If that's what it feels like, and only people who haven't done it knows better, then there's some logical problem here. Because if that's exactly how it feels like, then that might just how it be. Because when we talked about how we, through perception, change our reality, for people who have done it through that, and that's how their perception is, that is their reality, and that's it. And that is the form of real, the bedrock thing we talked about for all of them. Now, the other way of explaining God could have been, and I think this is what is that, there's a big gap between me sitting here talking to you and then this long source of like millions of years of evolution of how we come. And that is a big, big gap. And to connect yourself to the source, I think sometimes people also use this word as a filler to just fill that insane amount of unknownness behind you. And that's what they call God. And that's just how it is. And then sometimes people say, oh, this word and everything. And there's a lot of, and I had this talk with someone, and they say, I felt that a lot of what is at the back of us is, or the word, whatever the word you want to use it, love, you want to use it, love, you want to use you use it, the capital word love, the void of love, the space, the great consciousness, whatever the word is, it doesn't matter. But the point is that they feel a bit of coldness, let's say, but in this word or in these things, because there's a huge gap, and they really think that all they are is this human, and then this point. And this experience through a ritual, this experience of a hive mind behavior, that experience of some sort of aesthetic connectivity with just humans, with music, with singing, with dancing, puts you into that state where you change your experience and you kind of change your reality, what you're feeling subjectively. And if like, oh, it's just subjective, well, that's all what there is, unfortunately, for humans. That's subjectivity. The self-reflective loops actually change Homo sapien into who really we are. So if you don't want to talk about subjectivity and consciousness, I mean, what are we even talking about? Like, what standards are we talking about? Anyway, so imagine getting to that place, just a little bit of this place. That's where I feel that my connection, and I realize, and that's where, my mind fills the gap, and I can see, whoa, I can see that just we doing this psychedelic experience, dancing experience can connect us like that. Imagine how it would be to connect to millions and billions of years of evolution, to the things we have been. And that's why the word itself, when I look at the back of my heart, you can say the back part of my heart, which I cannot see, where there's a lot of shadow, I feel a bit of warmth since I'm really young, because I felt that connection. It just happens to be growing up in a place where I had loads and loads of ritual, and they fucking bloody believed in it. So when they fast. And when they celebrated, they really celebrated. I mean, there's a lot of issues in, a very strong, traditional, collectivist, full-on ritualistic society merged with globalism. I'm not taking the problems away, but man, it gave me a lot of beauty and warmth.
Do you know if some of these rituals, do you know if any of them, I think magic is the word, do you know if any of these rituals worked?
So
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the rituals I'm talking about are more about coming together, singing.
Okay, just like not partying, but just having festive family fun.
Well, I mean, more like a tribe community.
Okay, sure.
Communal things like majalis, which I told you, how people will come together, and more like Shia rituals, Shia custom, not customs. Yeah, Shia
rituals. Yeah, I guess ritual is the word. But I'm wondering if so I'm sure. Imagine all these people fasting. They work. Okay, cool.
Okay, they work. Yeah, they work like a motherfucker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they work. I mean, we can go into that some other time, but coming together all night,
Just good mood, family in a good mood just will heal everything, won't it?
Singing, it's not just family, it's like sometimes
Community,
thousands of people.
yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
big
wow, yeah,
gatherings.
see, yeah.
I mean, we're going full tribal rituals.
Yeah, see, that will perform magic. Thousands of people.
That's what I'm saying.
In a certain
that's
mood.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course, that will shape the world. Yeah.
That's
if one person can change reality with his or her thoughts, imagine what 1,000, imagine what 10,000 people can do.
That's it. So, I mean, that's this thing. There's one aspect of that. But, I mean, we are, as a human, bound to have like so many personas to explore, so many personalities. That's the form of life. Leaves grow and fall. The tree motherfucking completely changes itself all the time. And when the roots are coming out and the branches are changing from one bit to another, from an outside, it looks really static. If you walk past by, it looks pretty static. But leaves are completely new. That even the branches, which looks really new, the things are falling and the cells are changing and all of it is changing. And that's the beauty of expression. The problem sometimes, of course, is when we are out of harmony and we want to hold the parts which are dead. And we want to hold on to the parts which are not yours yet. And you are so much in this drive of really wanting them, because either, you want to be somewhere where it's not yet time because it's not enough water or it's not enough patience you have given to your own roots so you can actually be stable, and your body tells you and you're not ready for it. Or, of course, it's just so painful to let go of what you have known through how you have experienced the world, because that's becomes all of you. But it is really easy. If you want to, it is really easy if you have seen the God, which is easily you can categorize just all of life which is on earth. All of it is same, one thing. I mean, what the fuck is this thing? What is this thing which actually evolved into all of it? What is this source? What is to be communicated?
It's just life wanting to exist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like kill. I don't want to say kill the bees. I mean, if you take away the bees, it looks like everything will die. But take anything other than the bees, and life will go on. And then more life will be created. Thousands of millions of years later, they will evolve into other things.
You can kill the bees,
and it will still go on, won't it? Yeah, of course. I just didn't want to say that,
No, humans won't die. Sorry, Homo sapiens will die, but
won't die. You say?
Yeah, Homo sapiens
will die eventually, right? Yeah. So and life will continue. Thousands of years later, there'll be like other things, and life just wants to exist, doesn't it? Like if you believe in the theory that life, maybe bacteria or something, single-celled organism, came from another part of the galaxy universe, that's still life again trying to exist. It's like there's this energy. It's just life. It just wants to be. It just wants to exist.
It just wants to diversify. It wants to communicate.
It wants to diversify. It's multidimensional. Like it's not just humans on Earth and it's just rock. It's humans, bees, bears, plants, mushrooms, millions of types of plants and ants and just billions of everything. And that's what life is. It's this multi-dimensional expression.
So it would be easy.
And it wants to be diverse. Sorry, go on.
No, sorry, of course. Yeah. I mean, no, I'm actually adding to what you're saying. It would be so easy if you touch this thing, what we are talking about, not through our words, but through our
communication,
actual experience. Yes.
You're saying communicate with life?
The crazy stuff. Well, that's why it's so hard to take psychedelics, because you communicate with the life.
It's true, you do.
I mean, and when you communicate with life, you realize that that's what you are, and that's what's pumping in your
psychedelics
veins.
Are very familiar, right? Like the first time I did psychedelics, and I want your take on this as well. It was like, although it was a new experience, it was like, you know what? I know this feeling, and it was always like this. This is that forever feeling.
most of the people explain coming back home as if it is coming. It's the familiar feeling, and many people interpret it as that this realm, and this is another aspect of it, is that is so aware of, and it's so empathetic and loving and compassionate that it does not want you to feel the complete chaos of being in an alien environment. You were already scared and you have been mystified and you are terrified. So what they do is that they actually create an environment in such a subtle way which is somehow in balance with the newness, but also a little bit of a homeliness to it. So it's that compassionate world which is responding to your entry and welcoming you, and that welcoming feels like home. And which could be, possible. I mean, I'm sure that thing which you experience is really, if it is life, if we are talking about that life, I mean, imagine, you can't even quantify it.
Yeah, dude.
What are we?
I'm trying to understand it, and I feel like I've got a small grasp, but...
Well, now coming back to your persona, and then when it's easier, that's what I mean. Otherwise, it's the hardest thing. It feels like you're facing complete death and demolition and wiping of your existence. And that is exactly what it is. And that's why it's so hard if you are that individual. But going back, communicating, looking at the back of your heart, looking further back who you could be, who you are, and looking or touching, or communicating. You can take that burden. You can have that space to go through it. It's not like pain reduces. It's not like nothing gets easier. It gets actually a little bit harder. But the cool part is that the good news is that there is so much more than what you knew you are. And you develop so much more capacity than you could have ever imagined you could be. And that's how it works.
That does sound like good news.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Crazy, mind-blowing stuff, man.
Always.
I want to ask you. This is somewhat maybe straying off topic. So yesterday, while sleeping, I had the experience of what's known as a sleep paralysis. I had like a scary. I know it was a dream at this time. I definitely wasn't awake because I thought I was awake, and this thing, like, I felt like I was in my bed. I felt like I was paralyzed, and it felt like this, like, something. I couldn't see it, but I could feel its presence was trying to get me. And then after it kind of died down, I was able to open my eyes, and I realized I was in a slightly different position to how I felt it. So that's why I know I was definitely dreaming. But what are your opinions on sleep paralysis?
Well, I don't really have any opinion. What I've heard is that...
have you ever experienced it?
No,
never? Okay, fair enough.
It, yeah.
Okay. I get it like every 6 months.
Yeah, maybe glimpse of it in a way that where I wake up and I'm trying to shout, that experience, because
I would say that's probably, similar, if not the same thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to like shout, but I couldn't. And I know that I'm up because I am like halfway. You can see it, yeah, I'm halfway in this world. And I know that there is the person sitting right next to me. And I'm like,
yeah. And they can't hear you.
And I can't, like, I'm saying things, but all what they hear is like, what? And I am shouting because I'm scared.
Yeah, of course.
But it just seems like, I mean, I've read this book called, I might have actually shown you DMT Entities.
Do you know what? I've heard of it. I'm going to write it down in my book because
this is David Luke's actually idea, and also he kind of edited it and created this with I think another person, Anton, not sure, but yeah, DMT Entities. You remember
We've spoken about it. I've seen videos of different people talking about it, but
Oh, you have? Oh, wow.
like Terence McKenna mentions the is it the machine elves or
Oh, no. So this book has been about, well, this book is written 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually gathering all of the researchers, Dennis McKenna as well, Terence's brother, and Rupert Sheldrake, to people like Robin Carlhart, who is one of the most meticulous scientists or researchers, you can say, who are working at the forefront of getting all these things approved. I think he's working in Imperial College London. So there was everyone, and they talked about what are these entities which we see and communicate, who seems completely autonomous and they have their own will, and there's as if like there's a giving and somehow listening of a completely different entity, full entity, not just some experience or some abstract experience.
like an existence, a real life existence, not how we measure life, but a consciousness of its own, which we can communicate with an entity.
Exactly, a complete different entity. And the experience is really, I mean, the weird part is, even if let's say that a different part of different cultures and different world, people do experience very consistent kind of behavior. So
especially what I'm saying about the sleep paralysis, right? It's something that can be seen throughout many cultures for many millennia.
Exactly.
I totally believe they're like actual entities, as you put it. I used to call them like fear demons, innit? They like induce fear and they suck off your energy. I don't know how much of this is true, innit? This is just how I used to believe it. Now I just don't even know, but
no, this is
I
actually,
do believe they're entities. Yeah,
this is an interesting point. I was not thinking in that sense. I was thinking more like how. So the curious case is that, let's say there are certain. I think it is DMT, or I forgot. There is one plant or something where you actually take it, and most of the people do report giant mantis. Giant, like seems very vicious mantis. And it's like, okay, maybe there is a thing in our brain which generates this experience. Isn't it crazy that why this thing consistently across different places creates the experience of giant mantis, attacking you? So even that is very interesting to experience.
It's like a form of communication, isn't it? It's like, this is the only way I can communicate with you. I don't know how to better express myself other than a mantis, a giant mantis.
Let's remove that there is something out there. Let's remove it's
your because you have to believe that. Yeah,
let's say it's all human consciousness. Still, it is such an interesting.
It's bizarre that it would be so similar.
So bizarre.
And that's what I'm saying about sleep paralysis. Like, I feel like it's bizarre that many people throughout many cultures, throughout many millennia, are reporting the same things, and yet we maybe write it off with science as, it's just a chemical imbalance in your head, or I don't know what they're saying.
You're right. No, yeah. So this is a very interesting one, that there might be a similar kind of dimension when it comes to entities when you're dreaming, although they connect a lot with DMT. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the gate they talk about, the dream and the DMT. And when you sleep, that's where you're
able to slip into this
this place,
new dimension.
Yeah. Yeah,
or
exactly.
Whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever that thing is, and is it in your brain? Maybe it doesn't matter, even if it is your brain. And that's where, and that's what I was actually trying to understand and think is like, okay, look, we are all connected. Me, you, everyone. Human consciousness is actually one kind of a hive thing. We are all coming out of, and that's what they explain. You will know Harari, who's a really good historian, and other people who, let's say, consider one aspect is that the reason why we have so many similar behavior is because human brain is structured in a very similar way. Humans evolve in a very small place and then spread out.
Sure.
Even though we can evolve, we can have different. We have evolved so much different that we are so different from one human to another than any other species could have been. And that's one of the greatest gifts which Homo sapiens has, is our brain plasticity. So yes, even though we can be so different, but the structures of our consciousness is somehow in some way so similar. And that is one of the reasons why certain phenomena, certain myths, some experiences pop up independently in different places. It's because we are humans and our perceptions are based on very similar kind of parameters and experiences. And that's why we, no matter how different we are,
evolutionarily,
we connect.
Same pretty much
Now,
and have been.
Now, here's the cool part. Yes, okay, let's take this explanation in some way. That means that we are really connected in some very real way through language, through ideas. That
through memory. We're connected through memory.
That's it.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
It's like you're connected to your ancestor through this memory.
Yeah.
Like, so sleep paralysis, from what my understanding of what you're saying is, could be to do with thousands of years ago, maybe millions of years ago, you were prey, you're being hunted, and your dreams are telling you, look, wake up because there's a T-Rex behind you, and that's the residue that's left behind from that being that shrew or whatever. Yeah,
I don't think we faced T-Rex, but
sure, but no, I'm just trying to use the extreme as the example, you know.
I'm saying I like the glory in it, facing the T-Rex.
Yeah.
But okay, but you know, like, but in that realm, you know, people talk about this realm of ideas, which is another realm. What is an idea? Idea is a thing which is existing, and it forms and grows, and there's a thing. There is whatever that is.
Chemical reaction in the brain.
Well, there's a structure going on. That's it. Whatever that structure is,
something's happening.
Now, of course, there's a physical explanation of the chemical changes, and then there's an overlay of subjectivity on it. Now, both of them are pretty much happening, and one is incomplete without the other. The one informs the other, and other informs the subjectivity of it. Now, even if it is just human, I think it is a very probable possibility that there is some sort of structure. Let's say, you know how ideas come together and they become more real than what anyone would tell you to be something real. And those ideas exist and form these characters, move from one culture to another, independently come to another writer. I think.
Who was it that said people don't have ideas? Ideas have people.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know.
Do you know about that concept? Like where ideas exist and we're just like a radio just picking it up as a signal.
Oh yeah, this is the definition of consciousness.
But you know what, I want to ask you something. I think this is really interesting. Based on what we were talking about dreams, do you think trees dream? Plants, do you think they dream? Because you know a plant, like, you know, when the sun comes up, like it'll open up its petals, and then when it gets dark, it'll close. So like, it's conscious.
Oh yeah,
But like, do you think it dreams?
Oh, by the way, if you think that plants are not conscious,
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. I just wanted to be more kind.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm just saying that it would be worth. I think it's so beautiful if someone thinks that plants are not conscious, because I'm envious of that discovery.
Oh, that kind of ignorance.
No.
Because you know they say ignorance is bliss. I thought you was going to say envious of that kind of ignorance. Yeah.
Jesus, man, we are all ignorant.
It's true.
We are all ignorant of what we don't. We are all ignorant of what we are going to. Everyone is at every other developmental stage. There is no way I could like sit here and be like, I don't know a million things. How can I mean, I don't even know if it is 100% true or not. What I'm just saying is that I'm envious if someone believes that the plants, let's say, are not conscious in some way or another, whatever the consciousness definition is. So hard. This is a very complicated topic, but I'm envious in a way that there's so much cool things to discover, which would lead
I get what you mean. Yeah,
you know, suddenly like, oh my, it would blow your mind up, like how they communicate. And now this book has been written. I mean, biologists would talk about it. David Sloan Wilson, even Yo Wilson would talk about it. People who are directly descendant from Darwin. Robert Sapolsky.
What do you think? Do you think trees dream, plants dream?
Man, I just
that's crazy idea, isn't it?
It's very
Imagine
hard.
the dreams that they dream.
It's very hard because
I know you're reading that book, Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. So imagine what trees dream of. What could they possibly dream of? You know, wind and sunlight. and rain.
I mean, we dream of very weird shit rather than just our usual things.
Sure, yeah. Imagine how weird a tree's dream is.
Yeah, or maybe they don't even think that it's a dream. Maybe they're aware that they actually transfer into different...
Or maybe they're aware and that they have full control in the other dimension. Oh, that's crazy, man. You blow my mind constantly. I like that.
I know. Maybe we are...
We're the ignorant ones. We're the ones who don't know how to do it properly.
That's true. That's what people do when they train you with astral dreaming, and they actually tell you their ways. I mean, like you can control your dreams. Not control. You can have...
lucid dreaming, yeah.
Yeah, lucid dreaming. You can have
some control. Yeah.
Again, I just don't like the word control. I think you can be aware of the flow which is happening, and then you can slowly get into the shit.
Traverse the inside of your mind.
Yeah.
Sadhguru, that Indian mystic, he talks about how through meditation and breathing techniques, if once not your breathing, it must be your heartbeat. Once your heartbeat gets to certain beats per minute, like 10 beats a minute, 20 beats a minute, how he says how you can, I'm not sure if he said communicate with the animals and the rocks, or be able to hear them or understand them.
Has he done it?
Well, he talks about it, so I guess he might.
If someone, that's the thing, man. I have been with so many magicians and charlatans and everything.
I know what you mean.
I don't care if can you do it. Can I do it? Can you show me how to do it?
You know what? I guess he's saying. I guess he's saying it's achievable.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm just listening from a person who says that, oh, by the way, this is how I did it, and this is how you can do it. Sure. Do you want to try it rather than just talk about it?
Rather than give me money and I'll show you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. No, but I just thought the concept was interesting, sure.
Yeah. That's what the concept of dieta is, which is just a word for diet, I assume, in Spanish, maybe?
Yeah, it sounds Latin.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do people speak in Peru?
Peruvian?
Peruvian? No.
I guess they speak Spanish.
Anyway, let's just not make fool out of ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's just no idea what are we doing. Oh, man. What do people speak in Portugal? Portugal is completely different. Anyway, so this is exactly what they do, is through different kind of diets of different kind of plants. They try to somehow resonate your frequency with the plant you are about to experience. You don't even have to take psychedelics. Let's say if you're doing a rose tea journey, kind of a week's meditation experience, music, meditation, all ceremonies, you slowly kind of bring your diet and your routine so that you can match with the frequency. That's why when you're doing ayahuasca or other kind of psychedelics, generally there are different kind of, controlling, let's say engaging in your impulsive or pleasure, desire, evolutionarily desirey kind of acts. So sex and drinking and smoking, which is all endorphin based, which are amazing, of course, if you do it at the right time. But it's just so hard for us humans because our energy, that's what they say, that the Homo sapiens have this energy which is very much about vibrating all the time. So we move a lot. That's why we are made out of all these ideas in our brain, in our subjectivity, which constantly run.
It won't shut up, will it?
It would never shut up because it's not supposed to shut up. You're not supposed to shut your brain, your thoughts ever. You just have to understand how the human reflection works in the prism of your subjectiveness, and that's the cool part of understanding and balancing and realizing that it's like a thing which runs like zzz, and you keep it running, and then when you need it you bring it closer, like zzz, and when you don't need it you zzz. It's somehow like that kind of a dance where you control it. Yeah, more like have a relationship with it.
Okay, dance with it.
Control it. Dance is the best analogy you can have it with it. So that's the thing. When you're communicating with plants, you do it is that you lower somehow your thought
You have to match the
processes.
frequency of the plant.
Otherwise, it would be a very hard clash. And that's the thing which I wanted to actually mention about the communication, is that I think that humans communicate through images and ideas in a way that, when I'm talking to you, this kind of communication is very much about picturing something, painting something. Our words have worlds inside of it. And I think that the plants communicate through vibrations, literally
through thought rather than
sound vibrations. Okay. No, yeah, and we do it with thoughts probably, and that's how I think kind of has been described to me in some way. I was talking to this person from Peru who runs this ayahuasca research center, but it's again a very simplistic distinction, which is not really representative of what that act is, like it's a hard thing
to understand even.
Yeah, it's a very hard distinction to make, but in some way you can say that a lot of things communicate in sound. They communicate in sound vibrancy, and that's why icaros are made out of these icaros are these things which shamans or curanderos communicate.
Okay, yes, there's always a song and dance to go along with these rituals.
Yeah. With ceremonies.
Always.
Dance is not maybe even necessary, but the icaros is like given by the plants, and independently many people have developed that, which are like set of these rules and vibration that when you are in that trip and that someone is singing that, it could manifest your experience through singing and then manipulate what's happening to you. Sometimes, let's say you're facing a demon, literally a demon, which is about to burn you, and you cannot do anything about it, and you have had enough, and you have burned yourself 3-4 times over, and then that's it, it's enough. And the shaman would suddenly realize that this is what's happening. It would come and it would start singing, and there will be like a shield form in front of you, and how it would be singing, it would slowly shape that little big demon into this little shadow.
And the shaman controls
your thing, and it's your experience.
Trip. Your experience exactly. through what
sometimes it would protect you, sometimes it would push you a little bit. So it's like, and all it is literally just the vibrations of the sound.
Check this. I don't think I ever told you this. Some months back, I was playing with my guitar. No, you know what? This might have even been when I began my experiment. So maybe just under a month ago. But I was playing my guitar. I'm just strumming single notes and humming them, just like, ding, different notes, right? And I had a candle lit in my room, and I must have been staring at the candle maybe a little longer than I wanted to, and I could swear to you, it felt like I was almost being. Have you ever noticed when you drift off into a sleep, or when you wake up from a sleep, it's like this very pulling motion. It's like you're being like sucked into this other world. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I able to describe properly? So while I was plucking these strings and humming these sounds, and like I say, I must have been staring a bit too long into this candle. I swear to you, at one point, it felt like I was slipping through, and I had to I really had to stop and be like, what am I doing? And was it that single note, or was it the whole experience? I had to put the guitar down, man. I was like, I don't want to say I got afraid. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was a little bit afraid. I was like, I've kind of discovered something there. Don't know if I want to play around with that too much, but it's really trippy, weird experience.
There are frequencies in your mind, and sometimes
you hit the right note, and it does something.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you're in flow state. When you are in those states of oneness, let's say, and these are very scary states because sometimes it feels like you never come back from it. But anyway, and that's why it's very similar to the experience of death, is that you would not know from a perspective of Kemal that you are in it. And the moment you would know that you were in something, you would be out of it. And that's just the classic experience.
It was instantaneous, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you would not know how long you were in it. And it's a very weird experience as a human to be, part of something like that. I have, what I know of when I was here, when my relationship was starting and I was planning to move here to UK, and there were other experiences happening, I felt a little bit of infinity and trying to face that, some sort of an infinity and a space which doesn't have up or down. I felt like I slipped for a moment in that place where there is no land, there is no gravity, there is nothing as an individual. And it was that point where I was clinging maybe to the last, from my fingernails to this thing which I knew for 23 years of who I am. And I could not let go. But then I realized that the whole earth was like, you had enough. You've been wishing for finally achieving peace. You're not going to get it from there. So I suddenly felt it at that point as if something struck me, and I got slide into that place for a moment. And my God, it made me humble for so much more folds I have ever imagined. That one moment I cannot forget. It was a moment. It was a brief moment where my heart skipped so many beats and my brain was like, as if that what the grandness of the mystery was for a second blinking, wearing a very cool scarf. It was not even without a scarf. There was a form around it.
Oh, wow.
It was nothing. It was no vision. There was no nothing. It was literally a feeling. But all I felt was this deep void. But I know it was a bit kind. I know that it was not like angry or something. It was just very benign, hurtless, seamless, a very quiet void for a second, and it was to do with, it was fearful.
It was fearful.
It was so fearful.
But I am curious.
Yeah.
Afraid, excited, but curious.
Your position is different. It's a very exploratory kind of space.
See, with me, I feel like all these experiences that I had that weren't psychedelic were somewhat accidental, Like I've never... I try to read about, spiritualism or God or religion, different things, but I've never like practiced meditation. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not like, I believe I'm enlightened, obviously, clearly not, but like, I believe it, if you know what I'm saying. Like I've never been like, oh, let me achieve enlightenment. Let me meditate. Let me do this. So everything that I've experienced accidentally. And so I wouldn't know how to go about kind of trying to control it, and I don't understand it, and that's why I'm a little bit fearful, but yeah.
Oh man, I think my brain is so tired that now I'm having like thoughts is like, oh my God, who's gonna listen to this? And just suddenly right now, right at the end of it, I had like a thing about like, oh, who's gonna listen to it? And for sure, I hope I sound intelligent enough.
I feel like
Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like such an idiot. But what can you do, man?
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. I was like, I hope that people were like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I'm sure, like when some parts of your brain is tired, some parts which are like trying to keep you going are like, oh, dude, you killed it. Don't worry about it. Just as amazing. I'm like, Jesus, this is. I think I need to take a pause.
We're just like two idiots just talking out.
What is it? No, what? I mean, that's
what it seems like, but that's what it is, yeah.
That's exactly how we talk when we sit down. So that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried my best to be true to exactly how
You think if
we
one
talk.
person listens to it, it's all worth it?
I was not thinking. I even forgot that we are recording,
Okay,
but
sure.
I don't.
I mean, we're just sharing ideas, aren't we?
Yeah, that's true. It's a good question. You're right. I mean, it is about
You know, I feel like we're
sharing.
doing. I feel like, and this is not just the conversation we're having now, like what we're doing as a human civilization with the internet. It's like we're feeding information to the AI. And so to think this conversation that we're having now, or any conversation we have in the future or have had in the past, will just be knowledge for a future AI. And this will be like a memory for it. And it will somehow use this information, whether it's right or wrong, it will just somehow use this information as judgment. Like it'll make decisions. And obviously, like, you know, it's not going to recall this for every judgment it makes, but it will use this as, you know, 0.00001% of a judgment that it makes, possibly.
Well, then I better hope that it listens to our part of potential conversation and understand that we are all, even the transcendent intelligence is part of life itself. And hopefully...
I feel like putting up a blog or a podcast or whatever format for the AI, like an actual scripted message to be like, look, please, we're a young species, you know, don't be harsh on us. We don't know what we're doing. Forgive us, you know, because, you know, there's that whole idea of the Terminator style annihilation of humans once the AI
Well, they're not going to listen to it then. They'll be like, this is exactly the reason why we need to get rid of. Look at these stupid
these
people.
monkeys.
Rather than working hard on actually making something better out of us, they were like writing blogs. Kill them.
It's funny how we think like that, you know?
I don't
to
know.
think that we think that it might just go crazy or AWOL and then just
of course.
terminate us.
Of course, because we...
It's because it's what we do.
Well, that's what
we
do.
think that's what it might do.
Well, that's what we always have done as a civilization. Whoever has a
Can you imagine
power.
it just like it builds itself a body and a brain and just decides, you know, I'm going to leave you guys here. I'm going to explore the cosmos, and that's what it does. Like it creates this little, you know, Asimo. You've seen Asimo the robot. Imagine like a more advanced version that can fly like Iron Man. Imagine it just creates itself, you know, and then just like flies off and says, you know, I'm going to explore the universe.
Yeah, well, that's
cool.
what that's been the story in many places in comics and at different exploration in different books have been like this. What you just said, you're right. Like that, they would be like, yeah, there's just.
You guys are idiots. I'm leaving.
You just.
The answer's not here.
I'm going
to look for it.
I am now part of you, so I'm some version of you. Like I came out of you, so now this is how life explores other universe, and that's it. And this was your stop, and now I'll find my stop.
Yeah, and imagine like one day, like billions of years from now, going on the same theory. Like humans are completely dead and the robots have forgotten their creator and they're on like another planet and maybe another universe. And they're just like, why are we here? What are we doing? What was our purpose? You know?
That's
what we are really.
That's Carl Sagan's idea.
Oh, yeah.
It's like where we are cosmos looking back at ourselves. When we look up, and that's it. That's Terence McKenna does brilliant job. I mean, man, just check out some of his full lectures, not the snippets, but full lectures. My God, he talks about, this is like if you want to send these ideas and explore different planets and the space. The perfect thing is like bacteria through one, and then let it. I mean, this is the thing. This is craziness. Is that I can't explain it, his ideas, but it is the way that's the way you travel. You travel not as a fully formed thing. You travel as a potential of life, and then whatever planet or whatever galaxy can actually accepts you, will accept you, and then yeah, you're right, you will go there and you will somehow take millions of years, and then you will reach, and then you'll try to understand, who am I, where I come from, oh, what is in my DNA code, who is my God, what is this God thing, oh, can I be the God, can we all be civil, and then you look back, and then some place in some universe can be like relay back to it. It's a long billions of billions of years of a game. And each of our breath, good or bad, in some way might count, really. And our subjective experiences, our bickering, our quarrels with each other might shape a little bit how the information is being recorded in all of the membranes of this place. So you're right. This is a thing which could be.
Do you know where I think the next technological revolution is? I think the next technological revolution is being able to manipulate biology and creating biotechnology. And what I mean is like imagine manipulating the genes of an animal or creating in a lab or whatever, but making a car. So what you do is, instead of pumping it full of gas, what you do is, obviously, it has to either enjoy what it does or it would have to not be conscious. Otherwise, it becomes unethical. But you grow these cars, biological machines. It doesn't have to be a car. Maybe it has legs. But you design it so that it takes us from A to B just like a car does. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's where the next technological revolution is. And I think AI maybe will help us get there, to understand DNA a bit better, manipulate genes, and so a car could maybe give birth to another car. All you have to do is feed it, and then the cars they make themselves.
It's very plausible. It's very probable. Hopefully, we can do something like that. It actually
maybe beyond me in your lifetime, but
yeah, it could actually be able to. We can improve sustainability.
I think it sounds possible, man.
It's beautiful. It's
like look how far we've come. Like you were talking earlier about changing from a shrew or a grasshopper to a human. So why not? Billions of years from, or hundreds, through DNA control and whatever, creating, like I say, maybe even like rocket type things to propel us to Mars.
It is beautiful
biological technology.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like making something out of metal and putting a human skin on it.
Yeah, no.
I mean like actually like I'm actually
biology.
Biological.
Grow it. Organic growth. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like truly becoming one with biology,
with nature,
through the technology, through the power. Like that is called using technology for something really powerful. And this is it's a hard one. Again, it's a very hard one.
Like I say, the ethics are questionable.
Oof, it's just a hard one, man.
Imagine like you have to capture a car from the jungle. You have to catch like a little car and then you have to grow it at home.
No, I don't mean...
It sounds cruel, but...
Yeah, no, I don't mean like that. The car with like little tears running away. Oh,
yeah.
I don't want to be the car anymore.
So it would have to not be conscious, whatever consciousness is.
No. I mean, like, that's the thing. I mean, there has been... You have to read Hyperion.
I know, dude. It's on my list of things to read. But I've got such a long list of things to read.
This guy has already talked about what you were talking about 35 years ago.
Oh, yeah?
In so much detail.
Oh, wow. Maybe I should just read it and get over my fantasy.
I'm telling you. Well, here's the thing. That you would read in the fourth book, unfortunately. It's a long series.
Damn it.
So, the first one is not.
Yeah, sure.
But here's the thing. You read first one and you will know if you want to read the other three or not.
Sure.
But because the story fully completes in 2 books. So that's it.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, you can leave it even at the first book if you want. The story is really, to a very calm, peaceful halt, let's say.
Okay, perfect. There's like a resolution by the end of the second book.
Oh, that's it. I mean, that's full resolution. Like,
have you ever read a book and got angry at what's going on? Have you ever had your emotions manipulated by a book?
I mean, like same with maybe the movie or,
Okay,
yeah, very similar. Like I mean, angry in what's, but you have a choice. You just
of course,
don't have to read it.
You just get. I was reading 1984 for the first time a couple of years back, and I could only read it in like 10-page increments because I was reading it on the train to go to work. And I found myself at points, like you build connection with the characters, and like
like that.
I remember being like really emotional at one point, like, oh no, this happens. And it's like, because I know I'm not going to be able to read anymore till I'm either going home or the next day, and it's like, it's like a real cliffhanger. You get like angry, you get emotionally manipulated, like I say, by a book, by like just an idea.
It is
that some other guy came up with maybe even 100 years ago.
Real as
Crazy,
as anything else.
That's manipulating reality, right?
That's it.
An idea that a guy came up with 100 years ago. He wrote a book, not even based on fact, because none of it happened yet. And he's influencing my emotions while I'm going to work 100 years later. I don't know when the book was written. I'm just saying 100 years.
Yeah, it was.
But that's controlling reality with your thoughts.
World War I, something like that. Yeah,
it has been 100 years. Yeah,
it could be. George Orwell.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't what I expected. People always talking about Big Brother. It's like this, like that. I didn't realize it has an actual story line, if you know what I mean. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was pleasantly surprised.
Oh no, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's that moment. I remember that moment really clearly. I was on a bus, as you can imagine. I was in Edinburgh, and I was going to University of Edinburgh. I was doing a job over there, and sorry, when the girl slides that little piece of paper to this guy's hand or pocket, and he's like, oh shit, I'm done, and she knows, and he opens up and it says, I love you. Man, it was so shocking. It was beautiful. I loved that moment. Yeah, it's amazing. It's actually one of the first like a futuristic dystopian, very politically charged, story-driven novel I've read. Maybe the first one like that. Should we pause it? Yeah. Okay. We'll come back.
We'll come back.
Maybe we'll come back in a few minutes. We'll come back, or we'll come back in a month or so.
Yeah.